So let's say you're a shareholder and you don't like the direction that the company is taking. What do you do about it? How do you respond to that?
Sure, so you have a couple different avenues. You could just contact investor relations because you're an investor. These companies all have investor relations offices that need to be responsive to the needs and concerns of investors. So you can start by doing that route. We take it a step further at the Free Enterprise Project, which I direct. We do a couple of things. We are shareholders in many large publicly traded companies that act against our values, our conservative, our Christian values on a daily basis. Many people would say, Justin, why would you invest in companies that offend your values? Well, that's exactly what you need to do if you want to engage with them. Because if you're not part of the conversation, if you're not an investor, they don't have to listen to you. So we invest in some of the most woke, the most left-leaning companies such as, Apple, Salesforce, Amazon, Facebook, Nike, so we can be the conservative voice in the room. And we literally go to the room. Pre-COVID, when the world was open, I'd attend dozens of shareholder meetings in person every year to ask CEOs very pointed questions because many of these folks are surrounded by yes men and they never hear hard questions. And also, many of them are surrounded by wholly liberal boards, so they operate in echo chambers. So they never hear what you and I believe, Kevin, unless I show up to the room and ask the tough questions. And that's one of the avenues that we use. Another great tool are shareholder proposals.
Okay, now what's a shareholder proposal?
Yeah, so at every annual meeting, let me back up. Every publicly traded company has to have an annual shareholder meeting. And at those meetings, there are 3 separate votes that take place. First, the shareholders get to vote on each of the board members' nominations. So each board of director member is voted on separately. That's one tranche of votes. The second tranche are proposals that are put on the ballot by management. Normally, these relate to which accounting firm they're going to use, say on pay votes where investors have a say on what the management level employees, such as the CEO and the CFO, how they're compensated annually. And then the third set of votes, those are shareholder proposals. So as an investor, the SEC has set up rules and regulations allowing shareholders, as small, by the way, as a shareholder owning only $2,000 of a publicly traded company stock, to file a resolution for the other investors to vote on at those meetings. And so that's where we engage at even a higher level than simply attending shareholder meetings. We file ballot measures for consideration for corporate proxy statements. We file anywhere between 15 and 20 resolutions in any given year.
So give us an example. I know you're doing this, but it's also being done by those on the radical left. Give us an example of a proposal that you might have put forward.
Sure. So when we take a look at some of these companies that have monolithically liberal boards, so we're talking about Apple, we're talking about Salesforce, we're talking about Facebook, I have filed what I call true board diversity resolutions. Look, when companies make overtly political and policy decisions, we think it would benefit these far left companies to have another voice in the room. And so we filed resolutions saying, look, your boards are completely out of whack when it comes to balance in any ideological sense whatsoever. It's monolithically left. So when you nominate new board members, we think it's important that you consider viewpoint diversity so that you can have a balance and hear that if you take a certain action, you're going to offend 50% of your customers, 50% of your investors, and potential investors. If you're not having that dialogue, we think that, organizational leadership is going to suffer from groupthink. And that's one reason why companies do take so many far left positions in our society, is because the boards are way out of balance in our Fortune 500 companies at this point, bending extremely to the political left. And so we're trying to interject some balance into the boardrooms. So those are some of the shareholder proposals that we filed. And I'll happily say that, while the most woke companies out there have pushed back on us, there are some Fortune 500 companies that have adopted our shareholder proposals, and that is their policy now, that when they nominate new board members, viewpoint diversity is at the top of the consideration for some major American companies now.